The rapture that no pastor is preaching. There is a rapture that no one is preaching. There is a rapture that no preacher will preach to you. There is a rapture that no preacher can explain in 5 minutes, and not even in a church sermon. There is a rapture that, as a book, would not become a bestseller, because no pastor would create his ministry through it. Not because the preaching is wrong, but because it's a frightening rapture, and the publishing house would not print it unless it would be presented as a horror fiction novel. There is a rapture that you would never hear on a talk show on television, because the producers of the program and channel will never allow something like this to go on air. There is a rapture that no producer would make a movie from it, because to make a movie from this rapture, that movie would have to be of many hours, with a budget of $500 million in special effects alone, with a rapture scene of at least an hour long. And not that line split-second rapture disappearing act you see in most rapture movies, which has no Bible claim to it, but spares a lot of money in production costs. Because when it comes to making Bible movies, the main concern for the producers is not whether you learn something from some Bible preaching, but how much the movie will cost in production costs, and how much they will earn from it in money. No producer would make a rapture movie that, in special effects alone, would cost more than any movie in history for an audience, most of which does not even believe in the rapture, and among them many who don't even believe in God and His Christ. Those who do believe in God and His Christ and in the rapture, in seeing this movie, would run out of the theaters screaming and traumatized from what they saw. There is a rapture that is frightening and disturbing. You will hate this rapture, and on the day of this rapture, many will run from it. There is a rapture that is so horrifying that you would pray that it will not come in this generation, both for you and your children, and their children's children, future generation. But unfortunately, this generation will know this rapture, because this generation has no future, and without God, it can do nothing, and the world is doomed, and we see its ending every day and all around us. Who preaches to you something different from this rapture is only deceiving you, robbing you of your time and wallet, doing Satan's work so to deceive you in believing a sugar-coated lie, and to have you stop your preachings and your evangelizing, because soon you will be in heaven. A soon rapture postponed 1,000 times, but for the pastor preaching it, showers of attention and extra bucks. So many times the rapture of the church date set it and postponed for another time, that many in church lost their belief in it, and losing their beliefs in the rapture have also lost their faith in Jesus after having followed false prophets and false Christs. And for those who preach the rapture as they have been taught and deceived in believing, the world mocks them, and you in preaching something that was promised 1,000 times and never came and never will, as they and you have been taught to believe. The rapture that I will explain and reveal could still have the world mock you, but with the difference that they too would pray to whoever is their God that this rapture would never come, and that the God of Jesus and his church would spare their troubled world from greater troubles. What is this rapture that no pastor is preaching? It is the Bible rapture. And if some of you, if not most of you, have been taught to believe that Jesus will rapture you from the beast, so not to be murdered by him, you're wrong. The Lord will rapture his church from something even worse than the beast, an evil that could have you worship it, believing it, your Christ and God, and without even causing you any physical harm. Now, who's preaching you these things? No one. Before beginning to explain what this rapture is, this episode is part 5 of my study, The Sign of the Son of Man in Heaven. Though the rapture is in Matthew chapter 24, verse 31, which has still to be explained, and the sign of the Son of Man in heaven is verse 30, which I began to explain in this study, and the core structure of this rapture is verse 30. I will continue on explaining this rapture through this study with a part 6 and 7 and so on. There will be many parts to this study, and the whole thing is so huge that to explain it all would require videos of many hours that could become difficult to understand and to follow for most viewers. I have decided to make short videos of only a few minutes long, so not to disturb you in what you will hear, but also to post more videos in lesser time between one and the other. And by the way, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Amos 5.20.